Good day, everyone. Great to see you all here. I'm Rob Tatro from robtatro.com, portfolio manager here at Canaccord Genuity Wealth Management and the Tatro Wealth Advisory Group. I'm excited for another edition of the Tatro Show. I will bring in our guest. We'll talk a little bit about his outlook on the real estate. So as a reminder, I am not your investment advisor. Do not take this as investment advice. If you do want investment advice on this, please go to speaktorob.com, www.speaktorob.com. We'd be happy to give you a no obligation consultation. All right, enough about that. Let's bring in our guest. I'll pause no further. I will bring him in. Luciano Diorio, welcome. Great to have you here. Managing Director at Cushman and Wakefield, Québec operations, an expert in his own right, young guy who's done a ton given, I say young guy, you mentioned it yourself, young guy, who's done a ton overseeing a pretty big team out there in the entire Quebec regions. He is the Quebec operations Managing Director. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Yeah, it's always good to have, as my viewers know, as my guests know, we're incredibly passionate about real estate on this show. We've talked about it a lot. I'm a big believer in owning real estate and have been for a very long time. It's what you do. When would you have kind of started getting into the real estate game? How did that start for you?
Right out of university. So in Montreal, in my hometown, basically graduated from McGill in '99 and started pounding the pavement and became a real estate broker on the commercial side. So strictly on the commercial side ever since. And now years later, I'm managing a great group of people here at Cushman and Wakefield for the last years.
Nice. So Cushman and Wakefield brokers, you guys, your team, you guys would broker deal. You would kind of find occupiers and investors, I believe is how you called it. And then you would kind of marry the two together in a real estate transaction. Is that generally what you would do?
Exactly. That's certainly what we've become known for. But Cushman and Wakefield is a lot more than that today. We also manage properties on behalf of investors. We also have facility management. We have valuations and advisory services. We also have project management services. So really the full gamut of real estate services for both occupiers and investors. Exactly.
Okay. So how is life right now in Montreal? You're there. I think you were telling me you're at your downtown office right now.
So I'm currently sitting in my downtown office. You'll appreciate this, Rob, because our office has been closed as much of the province has been shut down for a little while now. We've been allowed as brokers to start working. I believe it was the 15th of May, but most employers in downtown Montreal are kind of saying, well, wait, even if we are allowed to go back to work, let's kind of look and see how are we going to prepare our offices. So I'm actually in my office today preparing for what would be the next new normal, what our employees are going to come to over the next couple of weeks. And we haven't decided yet as to an exact date as to when we're going to reopen here, but we are going to get the space ready and organized so that everyone is going to feel safe. And when I say everyone, sorry, I just want to do a caveat. We will invite up to 25%, maximum of 25% of our workforce back into the physical workspace here in downtown Montreal.
Not many people are working in offices in Montreal, if any. You're one of the only ones, I would imagine.
Yes, and of course, anybody is in the essential services business. So there are people downtown, but most of the people, most of the cars that I saw on the road today were actually in the construction field. So what I call ladder trucks. So a lot of maintenance being done because these buildings have to still be kept. So whether they're occupied at 100% today or not occupied at all, there's a lot of work going on. And those services have been back in this province for a while.
Okay, so they just announced in Winnipeg here over the last couple of weeks and in Saskatchewan and some of the Western provinces that, more reopening is happening, golf courses, parks, there's a lot of stuff happening. Obviously, it's not what we read about Montreal. I mean, I've been following you guys' story. There's a lot of cases still. You starting to feel optimistic that Montreal's turning the corner a little bit?
I am actually. Today, I was just reading something online that said that, the amount of people that passed COVID-19 has been, I think it was like under 10 today. For Montreal, only one person has been counted as a COVID case. So, definitely from that side, the statistics coming in from the health department, the statistics coming in from the government are more optimistic for sure. I think too, people have been, I would say, kind of anxious to get out of their homes. We've been in lockdown since March 13th. I don't remember if Winnipeg, was it the same? Was it in Manitoba? Was it kind of the same time? Was it March 13th or so?
But I want to say a little bit after that. I think we were behind you guys by a little bit,
okay.
A couple of weeks maybe.
So I think that the province is starting to, people certainly on the island of Montreal are starting to, I guess, go out more. But definitely people are wearing masks. They're taking precautions as much as they can. I mean, obviously not everyone is listening, but certainly from a corporate side, I think companies, before we let employees come back to the workplace, I think that's, a lot of these guidelines are going to have to be followed, or we're going to get ourselves into trouble again.
Luciano, last year, I took my family on a trip to Montreal. I wanted them to understand, the history. We went to Quebec City as well, Plan d'Abraham. We did that whole fun trip. But vividly remember my time in Montreal, heavy tourists, lot of tourists. So that industry is kind of just died right now, I would imagine.
Certainly the hotels are very quiet in Montreal right now. Obviously, we've become known as a festival city. I was actually just saying this to someone the other day. This week would have been Grand Prix weekend. This is the biggest party that this city has seen. It puts us on an international map. I mean, billions, I'm going to say over 1 billion people watch the Grand Prix when it's running. So it's certainly our moment to shine on the world stage and on the, on the national stage, on the international stage, and it brings in a lot of tourists. I mean, getting a hotel on this upcoming weekend is almost, a hotel room is almost impossible unless you've booked a year in advance, and even then, you're paying top dollar for it. So right now, certainly the streets are quiet, and they're not bustling with the tourists coming in for the Grand Prix or for the Jazz Festival or for playoff hockey. There's a lack of content, of course, regarding tourism. And we also have the issue with a border that's a 45-minute drive south of Montreal that is closed until at least the 21st of June.
I remember, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, I happened to be in Montreal during F1, right? You guys call it Formula 1, Grand Prix, Formula 1.
Yeah.
And went out for dinner with a friend of mine, Breno Lima, back then. And we looked over at the table, and Lewis Hamilton was over there, sitting there having dinner, and he went out the next day and he won the race. I don't know how many years ago that was, but we were in Montreal for Formula 1. It was just crazy how busy it was.